Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. And Toronto Raptors have another injury. Color me surprised, something new. It feels like it's been a year and a half long curse on the Toronto Raptors that anytime something good starts to happen for this team, something bad has to follow. I don't know if you're with me on this one, but last I checked, RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, Scottie Barnes finally started to get some momentum last year. And what happens? Immanuel Quickley goes up on a drive, kicks Scottie Barnes in the hand, and boom, Scottie Barnes is out for the season. Cue the tank, lose the pick. You get a little bit of luck in the draft. I think a lot can be said about how well the Toronto Raptors did in the 2024 draft. And then you come into this season with a brimming optimism, or at least if you were me, you had a lot of optimism coming into this season. I thought this team was really, really headed to surprise some people. I saw elements of a team that was connected, a team that was together, a team that was preaching defense, a team that had a superstar. And then you get just derailment after derailment, right? Tariq saying, I'm going to hear that Scottie's already going to miss tomorrow's game. Yes, he has not traveled to Charlotte with the team. And again, just to put this into context so that y'all have the full history of this, RJ Barrett came out and scored 17 points in 14 minutes against the Wizards in preseason. This is following up what was an incredible end to last year, following up a really good summer with Team Canada. Momentum is a thing in basketball, and every single time you get injured, you lose rhythm. You have to get back into rhythm. Then you have to play again. Then you have to get refamiliarized with your teammates. I don't think enough was ever really said because we were so focused on the tank about how much the Toronto Raptors lost last year because Scottie Barnes didn't play. I think some people talked about it. We didn't talk about it enough, but let's talk about it because Immanuel Quickley, Scottie Barnes, and RJ Barrett have to learn how to play together. At some point, whether you think it should be this year or the next year or the year after that, these guys are going to have to go through their first playoff lump. They're going to have to go through their first playoff sweep. They're going to have to go through their playoff scars. And at some point, you're going to have to learn who these players are. A lot of people get washed up in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. They don't realize, look at what the Orlando Magic are doing. Now, I've caught the ire of Orlando Magic's fans. Like, they hate me right now because I've been saying pretty much for 3 weeks and very loudly and very publicly that Scottie Barnes is better than Paolo Banchero. And so every single time Paolo is going to have a good game this year, I can expect that I'm going to get mentioned a lot. And that's okay. I'm cool with it. But look at just how good Paolo has been this year. And how much of that do you think comes down to the experience he had last year in the playoffs, being the man, seeing those coverages? How much do you think that film of defense is really honing in on him, especially a good defensive team honing in on him, allowed him to train better, understand those coverages? I loved yesterday's game for Scottie Barnes because it allowed him to take the primary defender in a really tough game, which was very physical. And I hope that he can take that with him. RJ Barrett gets injured in the Wizards game because Jonas Valanciunas screens him and he busts his shoulder. He's out for the rest of preseason. We never get to see Scottie Barnes plus RJ Barrett because Scottie missed, I believe, that game. He missed that first game because he'd been away from training camp. Then you get Scottie Barnes' excused absence, birth of his child. Presumably, that was the reason he missed it. Then you finally get Scottie back. He struggles. No Immanuel Quickley. You finally get Immanuel Quickley back. Wrist sprain. First game, what happens? What happened? Y'all let me know. Last I checked, there was a certain point guard who said eye for an eye who undercut him, right? So you have that happen. Now you have what, 14, 15 minutes again, and Immanuel Quickley was on a heater. He was going crazy. He was going absolutely crazy. That game could have been a 40 piece for Immanuel Quickley the way he was going. And then you get that injury. And then Scottie Barnes is kind of slow. Starting out the season, he has a really rough game, first game. Second game, it's all right, you know. So he finally gets a really great game going. And what happens? Russell Westbrook tries to end his life on a drive. And then you dodge that bullet. You're like, phew, you're breathing a sigh of relief. And then what, like half a quarter later, Nikola Jokic pretty much knocks him out. And now Scottie Barnes is not traveling with the team to the one winnable game on your schedule in the first 5 games, which was really, we did not know that the Philadelphia 76ers were going to be injured. So this was the schedule win. The Hornets are the must win. See, you don't have a lot of winnable games in your first 25. And you can't go 1-24. You can't be 1-24 because your season's over. So you need to win. But when you look at this schedule, hang on, I'll put it up for you. When you look at the schedule, because I look at least 15 times a day, you're seeing Charlotte, you're seeing the Lakers, Sacramento, Denver again, Sacramento, LA Clippers, LA Lakers, Milwaukee. Man, the next time you have a team as bad as Charlotte, it's Detroit. And that's mid-November. Then you got Boston after that. Let's just, again, I'm gonna flash this up just so y'all understand what I'm talking about. I'm not overreacting here, right? We're gonna get into in-season tournament territory really soon. Teams playing really hard. And it's not that I don't have faith in the Toronto Raptors. I have absolute faith in this team. I have absolutely no faith that they can win games without Scottie Barnes and Kelly Olynyk and Immanuel Quickley and or RJ Barrett and or Bruce Brown. Like there's just too much gone wrong. Now, everything that's gone wrong does not overshadow what has gone right. And what has gone right is Jamison Battle is a real dude. I don't know if y'all caught the panel today, but here's my segment on the panel today talking about the Raptors rookies. Take a listen.
I'm not to bash the 55th overall pick, but his father was
right.
Maybe
or Shaq's son.
And I think this draft class, a lot of people called it ass, but I think there have been some incredible gems. We talked about one of them earlier, Ryan
Jamal
Dunn,
Shed.
right? Jamal Shed has been amazing. Jamison Battle, undrafted rookie, leading the rookie class in scoring, and he has been positive every single second he stepped on court. I compared him to Keegan Murray last night, and I was surprised because when Keegan was drafted, I thought Keegan is one of the most error-free rookies I've ever seen in my life, and one of the smartest players. And Jamison Battle is doing all that shit, and he's an undrafted guy. And the one guy that's just sticking out to me, like I cannot believe, is Jonathan Mobo at 31. Him and Ryan Dunn, future all-league type defensive potential. Mobo switched out to Tyrese Maxey, not a running start, from a standstill, and blocked his shot from 7 feet away. 7 feet. I cannot even explain to you. I don't think Tyrese Maxey ever had that happen to him in his life, where a defender from 7 feet, not running at him. It's different when you got a running start and you jumping at a guy. It's different when you in a defensive stance to guard the drive and you're not gambling, and the guy goes up for his shot and you meet him at the apex of a shot and block it away. The way he locked down Anthony Edwards, Ryan Dunn and Jonathan Mobo and Yves Missi are showing me something. These three dudes.
I said Yves Missi was gonna be good earlier in the panel.
I had him 10th on my board. I had Mobo.
Yeah, I liked Yves Missi. I thought he was a bit too raw, but the Pels.
I knew he was solid with him because I remember when.
Okay, so that continues on for a bit. We talked a lot about Scottie Barnes on that. If I'm on the panel, there's going to be some Raptors mentions, and we went real deep into Scottie's game. We went really deep into RJ's shot. I mean, Ox and I pretty much had like a really heated debate on whether or not RJ should have taken that shot. So definitely go check out the panel today. There's timestamps in the comment section. Definitely go like the video. I don't know. Comment on the video. Let them know that Toronto Raptors content is good, even in America. I don't know. Let them know. It's not just us Raptors podcasters. It's cool. If we want ESPN, if we want Players' Choice, we want Bleacher Report to actually talk about the Raptors more. Personally, I'm on a mission to make sure that more people know about Jonathan Mobo. That's just kind of like my mission for the year, is like Mobo and Jacoby and Ulrich. I want people to know about this rookie class. So that's just been my mission. Anyways, bit of a sidebar. My point is, that's the good stuff that's happening for the Raptors. And it is very good. It's very good. It's very promising. But there's something else that's on the line here. Now, there's a couple of things, actually. 5 picks. 5 picks, 2 years. That's the equation, okay? And I don't know about you, but I think this team has a talent problem, okay? And that's no knock on any player on this team. I know that there's plenty of really good players on this team. But we're talking about peak championship talent. You are either hoping for Scottie to become Jokic level floor raiser, which is very optimistic, but relatively possible, but unlikely. Jokic level floor raiser is like top 20 player of all time. When is he going to get there? Is he going to get there? Who knows? Anybody's guess. I'm not writing him off. I'm just saying that's insane. Okay. Typically, you need 2 stars. So this draft does present a very interesting opportunity for the Toronto Raptors if they do end up going the other way to get that second star. And then Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett become like the greatest complementary pieces and or trade pieces. And Grady Dick becomes like an awesome, nice to have. And Ochai Agbaji becomes a nice role player. And Davion Mitchell becomes a nice third string point guard. And you suddenly start to see everyone sort of stack into place, right? Because championship rosters are built 1 through 15. They're not built 1 through 5. So there's a lot of positives that are happening as well. But here's my conundrum. Take a look at that schedule again. Okay. So again, you are right now 1-3. One should argue Scottie Barnes doesn't go down yesterday. You're probably 2-2. It's weird how the numbers change when you add losses. But the reason the numbers change is because at some point you're going to hit a mark in the season where you have to make a decision on your roster. You have to make a decision on what to do. And I've already mentioned 100 times, you cannot shut Scottie Barnes down this year. You just can't. He's in, let's call it a contract year. It is a contract year. You're not taking $47 million off his plate. You're just not. So you're not going to shut him down. If he's healthy, he has to play. If you're shutting him down, you're burning bridges with your franchise player. So the question becomes, we saw what Scottie did yesterday. And if you haven't looked at the advanced box score, we'll look at it later. It's absolutely insane what he did yesterday. He had a 10.9 box plus minus last night. There was not a single player on his team, not a single player, not a one that had a box plus minus last night higher than 1.2. So it would not be completely unfair to say he was not only your best player, he was by far your best player. There was not anybody even close to what he did yesterday. And that's what you saw. It's that he has that floor raising potential to lead a competent offense. Maybe not a playoff offense, maybe not a championship offense, not yet anyway, but he can beat Charlotte by himself with competent pieces, like just even like one or two. Given one of Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett and some role players, he can keep you in the game against Charlotte. Now, what happens when Charlotte starts to tank and they shut down LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller later in the year? Because guess what? That's what the end of your schedule looks like. That's your Charlottes. That's your Brooklyns. That's your Washingtons. You have a 4-game stretch where you face Atlanta, Washington, Brooklyn, and Charlotte. That's a 4-game streak. That's a 4-game winning streak if Scottie Barnes plays. So the question is, you're never going to be the worst team in the league if Scottie Barnes is playing. You're never going to be worse than the Pistons, the Wizards, the Nets. He's too good. If RJ plus Scottie play, or RJ plus Immanuel Quickley plus the entire team, or Scottie plus Immanuel Quickley plus some role players play, you're probably going to beat a lot of bad teams. But you don't want to beat bad teams. You want to make the playoffs, or you want to tank. You don't want to be the 11th team. You don't want to just narrowly miss the play-in by one shot. So let's entertain the point that I made earlier about the Orlando Magic and why the Raptors would want to make the playoffs. I think the Raptors want to make the playoffs because you find out a lot about yourself in the playoffs. I think you'll find out a lot about this team, who Scottie is as a first option. Now, we all talk, well, at least I talk. I talk a lot about Scottie having a damn near triple-double in his first ever playoff game. Yeah, he was the fourth option. He was the fourth option. That's me being 100% real. Scottie did that as a fourth option. It will be very difficult and very different to do that as a first option, and also very illuminating and very telling if he did it. So, do you have a reason to get there to find out who he is against the Boston Celtics in the opening round, even if you get swept? Would you see some glimmer of hope? Would you get some idea on who you have in Grady Dick? I understand it might just be a 4-game sweep, but you'll find out a lot about your team in that way, and they will find out a lot about themselves. Well, what about if you end up getting to 7th or 6th? I mean, it seems impossible with this roster, but there's some trades that can happen. Okay, what if you get to 7th or 6th? What if you don't face the Boston Celtics? Could you be competitive against New York or Milwaukee? What if they have an injury? Could you be competitive against Philly if Joel Embiid ends up missing the series or something like that? Things happen. What if you get to a game 6? Or better yet, what if you do what the Magic did last year and get to a game 7? Now you're building a lot. Now, I understand that a lot of people just don't seem to understand that you need to be good before you can be great, and that you need to be great before you win championships. And a lot of great teams never win championships. So basically, we're talking about steps that you have to take, and you are at the basement right now. So, in order for you to step up next year, so let's play this out. Let's say you don't make the playoffs. Let's say you decide to be really ass this year. And let's say you do get, you know, uh, Dylan Harper or Nolan Traore. Who is that guy? He's a kid. He's 19 years old. He's going to probably struggle. He's going to have a lot of issues that Anthony Black and Grady Dick had. And so your timeline gets adjusted forward. Suddenly, Jakob is going to be probably too old before that kid is. So your whole timeline has to get adjusted anyway. If you are banking on Scottie plus 2025 draft pick to lead you to a championship, that championship is in 2030, 2029, which means in 2027, you got to go through the playoff scars. 2028, you got to go to the conference finals. 2029, you got to get swept in the first round. Like, and then 2030, you can start talking about championships. That's really far away. And I don't think the Raptors are trying to do that. I really don't. I think they think Scottie, IQ, RJ, Grady, they think they have something here. They think maybe, one of these guys can grow into something. We don't know if Jonathan Mobo is going to be better than Herb Jones. We don't know that. We don't know that Jacoby Walter doesn't turn into, a better player than OG Anunoby. We don't know that. But this team seems to have a lot of faith in their drafting. So I'm all over the place. What I'm trying to say is there's two ways that you can go, and a third door that would be very bad. The way you go is you bottom out completely. Jakob Poeltl, see ya. Bruce Brown, see ya. Chris Boucher, see ya. Young guys, you're getting 25 minutes a night. I guess that's okay. I guess if the Scottie injury takes him out a few weeks and you end up 2-8, 2-9, well, now you're really far behind the eight ball. You start losing games to a Charlotte. Well, that's even worse, right? Now you're not going to catch up, right? Like we talked about this in preseason. There is a mark at which you must exit. You must execute an exit plan on this season. We tried, it didn't work, had too many injuries, we didn't get to see it. C'est la vie, right? But as I said, there's one variable of this that you cannot control, which is Scottie playing. It's not like David Robinson and Tim Duncan. See that old thing that happened in 1995, 96, where Duncan, 95, 96? No, it was 96, 97, where David Robinson was injured and they milked his injury through the entire year so they could tank for Tim Duncan. You can't really do that with Scottie Barnes because he's not going to agree to that. I mean, I'm not even saying he's not going to agree to that. Like, they wouldn't ask him to because, again, all NBA is still on the line. So, I mean, maybe if at some point he misses the mark, like, I don't know, he misses the cutoff for all NBA, then you can rest him. Yeah. But he has to get there first, which means he has to miss like 17 games. He has to miss 17 games. And then he misses it. And then you can shut him down. I don't think he's going to miss 17 games of this. My point is, you fall too far behind. You start losing winnable games like the other night against Denver. And you start to fall so far behind. And now, even if you do catch up, what is the point? You're stacking meaningless victories at the end. You're not going to be able to ask these guys to sit out, and you're way too good to tank. So the two doors. Number one, exit strategy. Trade Jakob is anchoring. Like if you start Bruno Fernando, you will not win games. Jakob Poeltl here, Bruno Fernando here. No comparison between these two players. You will lose a lot of games with Bruno Fernando starting. So if Bruno Fernando is going to be your Aaron Baines this year, hallelujah. Keep him on the roster. Let him get a triple-double. 10 turnovers, 10 rebounds, 10 points. He'll do it. He'll do it for you. Make him a decision maker in the middle of your offense, for sure. I already think the Raptors are stealth tanking. If you want my honest opinion, like some of the stuff that they're doing, some of these lineups that they're running out, some of, just the logic of, okay, we're going to play super duper hard and we're going to be undermanned and we're going to run Scottie into the ground. We're going to play RJ on a minutes restriction and we're going to be running some of these really terrible lineups with these really terrible spacing. And it's almost like you are prioritizing development, but you can't aim in two places at once. So you're prioritizing development, Now, understand that at some point, you are going to face teams that are super depleted that cannot win, right? Because the development is not, it's not like all the development you're doing now is going to benefit you next year. It's going to continue to benefit you throughout the year. The Raptors will be a better team. If they stay healthy, they'll be a really, how do I explain this? If right now, the Toronto Raptors are like a 37 win team or a 36 win team when healthy, by the time you get to March, you might be a 46 win team or a 44 win team when healthy. And you'll be going up against teams that are super depleted, that are 15 win teams at best, and you're going to smoke them. So trade Yak, trade Kelly, trade Bruce, and call it a day. See what you can get. I don't know. Or the other way, which is get help. Because what I saw yesterday was a team that was fighting. I'm seeing Ochai Agbaji much better. That was a big hole on your bench, right? So that super thin bench, that's actually filled out a lot. You haven't seen a second of your two best bench players yet. You've seen 14 minutes and 29 minutes from your starting point guard and your starting small forward, respectively. And you've been in 3 of these games against a really, really tough field. You faced a desperate Denver team. You did not shoot well. And you were right there. I can see Ochai Agbaji being the 8th guy on the Boston Celtics right now. If he played this well, I can see being the 8th guy on the Boston Celtics. I can see Immanuel Quickley starting on the Denver Nuggets easily. I could see RJ Barrett starting on the New York Knicks easily. I mean, he did forever. But you get my point. I could see Scottie Barnes, like if we swap Tatum for Barnes and Scottie's in Boston and I still pick the Celtics to win the championship. You have pieces. You certainly have pieces. You have pieces to compete. And these pieces are good. You're missing one thing, though. You're missing one extra piece. And I keep coming back to Cam Johnson. There's going to be a fire sale in about 5 to 6 weeks. This fire sale is going to start, probably right after the in-season tournament, where a lot of teams are going to get really desperate to tank because there's a lot of hype around this draft. And at that point, the Toronto Raptors are going to have to decide whether they are one of those teams that is going to sell to bottom out. And it doesn't matter how much you like Yak. It doesn't matter how much you like these guys. It just matters that we're going to start, we're going to play Ulrich Shamshay, 20 minutes a night and live with the friggin' punches. And we're going to lose a lot of games. And Scottie Barnes is going to be really frustrated. But next year he'll thank us because he gets a really high draft pick. Or we're going to go the other way. And we're actually going to buy at the deadline. We're going to buy. Even when it's not obvious that we should, we're going to buy because we're going to trust that Grady, Ochai, Jamal Shed, Jonathan Mobo, these guys are just way better than we expected. And that all that depth that we thought that we lacked coming into this season, it's all there. It's all there. Jamison Battle is do you realize Jamison Battle wasn't on this team 2 weeks ago? I can't imagine the Raptors without Jamison Battle right now. Do you realize that when I did my preseason rankings of all the prospects, I put Ochai Agbaji with Davion Mitchell, and right now they are classes apart for me. And I know it's 4 games, and Ochai's shot could fall apart, but I don't think it's gonna. And I see a different player. There's a lot of talent on this team. But if Scottie Barnes continues to miss time and you fall that far behind the 8 ball and you start floating into 2-10, 3-12, 4-17 territory, you got to pull the plug on this season. Because at no point are you ever making up that distance. And the minute you start making up that distance, you are going to do the same thing, the exact same thing that we did 2 years ago with the Jakob Poeltl trade, which is you're going to end up in no man's land. You're going to miss the playoffs. You're going to get the 13th overall pick again. And I'm going to be sitting here wondering, what if we had Victor Wembanyama? It's history repeating itself. If this team thinks that they are so bad this year, they're not. They tried. They tried everything. They didn't re-sign Gary. They didn't use their mid-level exception. They have a super young roster. They're fielding 5 rookies, and guess what? They're good. They're all good. When Jacoby starts playing, you're gonna see that dude does not make a lot of mistakes, and he's a hell of a shooter. He's good. He's a good player. You know, Ulrich might be a year and a half away, but you have a lot of potential on this team. I think way too many people gas up. Let me ask you a question right now. Would you trade Immanuel Quickley for what you've seen of Alex Starr? He was the second overall pick, right? Would you trade Jamison Battle for Marvin Bagley? He was the second overall pick. I'm not hyping up lottery prospects. I see maybe 2 can't miss prospects in this entire draft. And if they're off the board, I see a lot of what ifs. Not worth losing an entire season over. And I got to tell you, the Magic thing is really, because the Magic look great right now. And they may fall off because they're not going to face the Indiana Pacers 82 times. But I watched that game and I saw a team that is brimming with confidence in a team that has grown from the playoffs. And I shudder to think what this team would have been had they not even aimed for the playoffs. They have a ton of young players on that team at the end. But you know what? Jett Howard was an 11th overall pick. Jamison Battle was undrafted. And honestly, right now, Jamison Battle is contributing more. Jamal Shead was a 45th overall pick. Anthony Black has way more potential than him. I'm sure a sensible person would say, I don't know. A sensible person would say Anthony Black is going to have a much, much better career than Jamal Shead, right? But Kyle Lowry leads his class in win shares, and he was a 20-something overall pick. My point is, this shit is not like predestined. You have some really good young players. If the point of tanking is to get really good young players, then you already have that. Now, let me introduce the second wrinkle. I said 5 draft picks. We're only talking about 1 draft pick. No matter what you do, the Portland Trailblazers will be ass. And no matter what they do, you have their second round draft pick. That's a 31st to 32nd overall pick next year. That is a really good asset. I'm not suggesting trade it. I actually think there's going to be something really good coming at the end of that. The second part of this is that the Raptors are not expected to be a top 10 team in the league at any point. So chances are you're going to have another top 20 pick in 2026. Have you seen the Pacers lately? Does Tyrese Maxey look like a super max player to you? I don't know. Does Benedict Mathurin look like he's going to be a future all-star? I don't know. So there's a chance. And I'm not saying it's a good chance, but I'm saying there's a chance that Indiana 2026 pick could actually be a lottery pick because it's only top 4 protected. They gave it away thinking they're going to be great. But one more injury to Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton, another regression, a little bit more regression from Pascal Siakam, continued indifference from Miles Turner, continued shit defense from that team. And it would not be the first time that I saw a team have a 1-year spark and then fall off. So what if you get, a lottery pick via that trade? Now suddenly we look very differently at the Pascal Siakam trade. I think a lot of teams are going to be desperate to sell. I'm kind of hoping that the Raptors will be desperate to buy. Not desperate to buy, willing to buy. I hope they'll be willing to buy because what I saw yesterday was a team that desperately needed an Immanuel Quickley and would be unstoppable with an Immanuel Quickley and a Cam Johnson. I got to tell you, maybe it's just like me just getting way one track on this, but every single time I watch this team play, I'm reminded how much better they could be with a great shooting 4. A Cam Johnson or something like that could help you so immensely. And a team like Brooklyn will be motivated to move him. A backup center who is not Bruno Fernando could help you immensely and probably could be had for your mid-level exception. I don't think the Raptors actually have to try very hard to be good this year. They have to make 2 roster decisions. 2 roster decisions. One on Bruce Brown and the other one on Chris Boucher. Make those 2 swaps, add a future pick if you need to one of them, and upgrade this roster. Or sell on Jakob Poeltl and bottom out. I've said it all offseason. The Raptors are not bad enough to be bad. And they're not good enough to be good. And a lot of people told me, no, this team is really bad. Well, I hope through the first 4 games you've seen my concerns and you understand why, if things click, at some point this team is going to get good. And you don't want that to happen when you're already 15 games under 500. and you can't stop it. There's 123 comments. I'll respond to them before we get out of here. Jordan T saying, I don't know about unstoppable. That's a stretch. Nick K, why is everyone panicking about Scottie Barnes' injury? It's a long season. Well, first of all, we don't know what the injury is yet, right? We do know that he's not traveling with the team. And that's a little concerning, if you ask me. I mean, I understand it. It's protective, but they've had a full, 24 hours at this point. I mean, it's been almost 24 hours since the game ended, and the game is tomorrow. So if he's missing this much time, there's a good chance that there's at least something wrong. Now, if he has to wear goggles, if he has to wear a face mask and he has to adjust to that, I can tell you from talking to a lot of hoopers who've done that before. I've never had to wear a mask or a goggle or whatever, but they always say there's like a massive adjustment time, man. And he's already shooting blanks from three. Right now, Scottie's shooting 18% from three. Yeah, it's that mask is not going to help. Mobo, Barnes, Barrett, Dick, Quickley is the starting lineup of our future until we trade RJ. Not another shrubbery saying, I definitely buy. I'd rather Cam Johnson than what if. Sure. Yeah. Tariq saying Serge would have rode out for Scottie in that scuffle. Miss Serge. Did any of Scottie's teammates have his back in that situation? I don't know. Also, big shout out to Jonathan Mobo. Happy birthday, Jonathan Mobo, today. Dat Canadian. Victor is the most complete rookie I've probably ever seen. I very much disagree with that, but he is a very good rookie. I don't think he's complete, though. I think he's very incomplete. I think he's just very gifted. Dirty Hip Salad saying Warriors are benching Kuminga. They should. He's been absolutely ass. Kuminga off the bench, buy low candidate? Absolutely not. I would not want Jonathan Kuminga within 10 feet of my team. Hell no. James Tom with the spamming. Well, you get banned for spamming. Sorry. Don't do that. Way too smoky saying Denver losing to Brooklyn. Well, that solidifies the tank if we go that way. Let's take a look at, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here, all y'all. I mean, it's gonna be a tough road if Scottie misses any amount of time, especially because we are a little bit unhealthy across the board. It would be nice to see Immanual Quickley get back. It'll be nice to see Jonathan Mobo get some extended run. If you want a silver lining in this, and I'm not necessarily sure that I see this as a silver lining, but let's assume that Scottie does miss like a week or something like that. You'll get more look at Jonathan Mobo. You get more look at Jamison Battle. It'll allow you to make a better roster decision on Jamison Battle, who I think should be converted immediately. I really do. I don't want him on a two-way anymore. I want him converted. I mean, they don't have to make the decision right now. They can ride this out. They have nothing to lose. They have his rights. But I would like to see him converted. That would be cool. Overall, if Scottie doesn't make All NBA, that's $10 million a year off your cap. Probably makes team building a hell of a lot easier. It would suck for him, though. And as your franchise player, you want to be rooting for him to get them. You want to be rooting for him to be one of those guys because you know he's worked for it. But obviously, from a team building perspective, if you're a Raptor fan, you could also see the benefit to that. Also, if the Raptors do tank, if they don't go that way, because it does, I'm getting suspicious that they are sort of stealth tanking. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. There's a lot of talent at the end of this draft. At the beginning of this draft, the Raptors have an excellent track record of actually finding great players in the draft. And then make matters even better, you have such a competent roster around Scottie. I mean, I'm not even trying to gas it. I'm trying to tell you, like, very honestly, you have a very competent roster around Scottie here. Like, you have pieces that fit. Grady is getting better at a pace that I did not see coming. Ochai has been really good. I mean, I think he's been positive box plus minus 3 straight games now. That is very impressive. He was the only Raptor other than Scottie last night who was positive on the box plus minus. And you felt it. You felt it. Like he was easily the Raptors' second best player last night. Defensively, offensively, he was great. So, I mean, you have something in Jamal Shed. You have something in Jonathan Mobley. You only have 15 roster spots, bro. And you have like 10, 12 guys who are young where I'm like, okay, count them out. I like RJ. I like Scottie. I like Immanuel Quickley. That's 3. I like Grady. That's 4. I was about to say I love Grady. I'm like, why did I say I like Scottie and I love Grady? I love Scottie. I love Grady. I love IQ. Love RJ. Okay, so that's the 4. That's your core 4. You can debate me all day if those 4 are good enough to put you in the conversations with Cleveland and Boston, etc. That is not the point. Those are not finished products yet, but I understand what you're saying. Okay, that's your 4. Then you have 5th one, Jamal Shed. 6th one, Ochai. Let's say Ochai is part of the futures. They just extended his contract. They picked up his option. They picked up Grady's option. So Ochai's here to stay. That's 6, right? Then you got Jonathan Mobo. He's here to stay. Jacoby Walter, I know he hasn't played a game for y'all, but he's here to stay. And Ulrich Tamshe is here to stay. If you even include Jameson Battle in the here to stay, you are missing 5 pieces. You're missing 5 pieces. Let's presume one of those pieces is your rookie next year, regardless of where you draft. The other one is, I don't know, your second round pick, who's going to be probably a 2-way contract next year, but in a really good draft, which has a lot of strength between 20 and 40 next year. The top is stacked, but the middle is really good next year too. So that's 12. That's 12 roster spots. You only got 3. You got 3, 4 left. So at that point, you're like, man, if Cam Johnson was one of them, that elevates everything up a lot. If Jakob Poeltl plus Cam Johnson are 2 of them, right? And one of Kelly and Boucher stick around, probably Kelly. I'm seeing a vision for this roster to be really good, really quickly, really soon. I do think that my point earlier was that I just think people downplay playoff experience. It's very valuable. Anyways, I want to say thank you to Greg, as always, for the super chat. I want to thank this community in general for everything y'all have done. It's been really cool and very humbling. We've been on a crazy growth spurt over the last little bit. I actually want to play a little bit of the panel, and this is just pretty much for people who did not watch the live last night. We had a really deep conversation about Scottie Barnes, and I'll encourage you to definitely go watch it. I'm going to drop the link in the chat for y'all to go watch it if you want to hear some serious Raptor content, because usually the panel is talking about the Lakers, they're talking about everything. But man, when I was on today and they asked me that if I had an agenda, I wanted to push my agenda for Scottie, RJ, and the rookie class. So I did. Take a listen to this little bit here, and hang on one sec. We get into a really deep debate about Scottie Barnes. Hang on.
It looks clunky. It just does.
Okay, so here's the thing. Scottie came into the league. What was the draft analysis? 0 level score. Came out and averaged 15 points per game. But that was the analysis, and it was fair analysis. He didn't dominate at Florida State in terms of scoring. He's not a bucket getter like Paolo. He's not a bucket getter like Cade. He's not a bucket getter like Jalen Green. Mars is smiling. Mars always smiles when you bring up Jalen Green. It's an immediate, you feel Mars getting a little bit drowsy. You just throw in a Men Thompson, you pepper in a little Jalen Green, you light him up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, they gonna throw in a Men Thompson, all right.
But my point is where Scottie's game is way further behind than some of his contemporaries. And even if you watched a 17-year-old right now like AJ DeBonsa, a little bit smoother. He's 17. Scottie's 23. He's an all-star. So the question then becomes, like you felt with maybe a Kawhi Leonard, an early Tracy McGrady, the games were not super smooth. You may feel like they were smooth, but man, I was watching Tracy McGrady brick pull-up jumpers open when he was 21. And then he went to the Magic and it all clicked together. So the question is, we're all going to the same place, which is the future, right? 2026 is coming for all of us unless we pass away first. My point is, at that point, how do you leverage the gifts that you're already using and then refine the bag, refine the skills? I've seen Scottie get better every single year. Every single year. That handle gets a little bit smoother, It's gonna come.
Now remember, Penn, this is now me paying close attention to Scottie. I wasn't paying as close attention to I was in the past. I would peek my head into him and
Sure.
watch him from time
He
to
was
time.
a project in the draft.
Sure.
Think about it, right? That's just 3.5 years ago.
Well, there were reports about Scottie Barnes coming into the league. Like he got the Scottie Pippen tag. Like he might be something, defensively, something like Scottie Pippen. So when he first showed up, I really didn't pay a lot of attention to him, but I'm paying more attention to him now. So you're gonna have to give me some time to warm up to him because I'm big into athletes, right? I'm big into athletes where that athleticism translates with your skill set. Like you can't just be open.
He wants to set the screen away. He wants to be crashing the chat. That I know our chat is younger because Kobe mimicked a lot of it. But Mike's a good example to catch up to the body. But when those skills become comfortable for him, the thing that I brought up yesterday is he has to try so hard to do anything on the court, which is exhausting. If you watch a really good scorer, Kevin Durant is the best example that I can think of. Kobe's another example. They don't do a lot of movement to get their shots off. There's not a lot of.
Don't use Kobe, use Mike.
That's fair.
I'm using Kobe for the chat that I know our chat is younger because Kobe mimicked a lot of it. But Mike's a good example too. Michael, it was like 6 steps, 4 steps, 3 dribbles, right to the right.
Not a lot of extracurricular
It's super
stuff
easy. And the reason that I follow a lot of trainers like Jordan on IG and like Brian Macon and a lot of these people is because I need to understand parts of the game that I'm missing, right? Because I didn't play Division 1. I didn't go to pro. So I need to understand how pros are training to understand what am I missing here. And the thing with Scottie is he has a lot of role player tendencies. He wants to set the screen away. He wants to be crashing the glass. He wants to be running the break, and he wants to be setting the screen away to get.
And that's not a role player tendency. That's a tendency every basketball player should have.
No, I know what.
Oh, well, hold on, no, you can't do that. Steph set screens. Steph set screens.
That's not what he's talking about, though. But keep going.
Okay, think about what I'm saying here. You got a guy who is on a lot of nights your best rebounder. On a lot of nights,
that's not a role player tendency. It's I know star players that we all know star players that rebound.
Sure.
Yes, but you don't know a star player that is guarding low in the defense and then switching out to a perimeter wing who gets and contesting that 3 and then diving back to the rim to block the shot, grabbing the rebound, trying to come down, set the offense up, then set the screen away, then reinitiating, then coming down, then offensive rebounding. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? He's trying to be 2 players at once. He needs to lose some of those role player tendencies that he picked up at Florida State and at Montverde. Because when he was playing with Cade Cunningham and Montverde and Moses Moody and those dudes, it's perfectly fine for you to do a lot of that little stuff because you're not draining yourself because you're not carrying the offense. You get what I'm saying?
Bro, he's actually been a role player his whole life. Like, he's been a role player his whole life. He was a role player in high school, role player in college, and then he came in the NBA as a role player too.
And now,
in fairness, he did have some star. He did have a star moment in EYBL when he was with the Sharks, where I think he was averaging a triple-double. And that is where I think you saw the best of Scottie. But the problem is doing that at the high school level when you don't really have to exert yourself to guard the competition. And now on the other end, you're getting the team's best defender. Like last night, I'm seeing Peyton Watson, Aaron Gordon. That's going to drain you all.
Anyway, I wanted to flash that on for you. I'll leave the link in the comments once this video goes live. Definitely go check that video out. It was a really deep conversation that I think you're going to learn a lot from. Number one, I really respect the hell out of Jordan, who's a really awesome trainer, Drenchman Sports on IG. He was on, co-signed a lot of my points, pushed back on some of them. So that was really cool. And the other, what is that for though? Is that for an orbital fracture or is that for like what you think he has, like a concussion? Anyway, so my larger point was that we talked a lot about the Raptors. We talked a lot about Scottie, how his game needs to evolve. But I really do see a superstar coming very, very soon for Scottie. I saw a superstar yesterday. And I saw it against a team that really was trying. You can argue that if the Denver Nuggets lose to the Brooklyn Nets, maybe it puts a little bit of a reality check on what exactly you did yesterday. But I would argue that the Brooklyn Nets right now are a lot healthier than the Toronto Raptors. Maybe that's fair to say too. Anyway. Elliot Roberts saying, great job, Rob. Hanging with some real ball critics there. Well done. Yeah, it's great. The panel is great. It's a lot of pushback. We had a really long debate about RJ Barrett, whether he should have taken that shot. We talked like extensively about the quality of the shot, the situation of the game. I do think that there's a lot of deeper basketball insights to be gleaned there. Anyways, definitely go check that video out. I'm going to put that link in the chat for y'all to go check it out. Timestamps are added in the comment section on that video if you're interested in it. It is a lot of Raptors basketball. The only reason I'm plugging this version of this episode of the panel is because it's like half of it is Raptors stuff, and it's really cool. So, you know, it's good. It's good to get it's good to push. It's good to get pushback from a Rockets fan and a Pacers fan. You know what I mean? And a Houston Rockets fan. You know, like it's good to get that perspective, the reality check, right? Because they're not watching Raptor games every single day. So. Nick K saying RJ took a good shot. He just came back. That's exactly it. I think one thing that we didn't talk about yesterday, you know, about that whole thing was that RJ was on a minutes restriction. So if RJ had not taken that shot and they'd gone to second overtime, chances are he's not going to play. Rob, who knows more ball, Mars or Ox? I plead the fifth, but I think you know the answer. I know the answer. We all know the answer, right? Okay. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great one. Enjoy. I hope there wasn't a buzzing on the audio. I'm hearing a buzzing and it's kind of bothering me. But anyway, was this a productive live to just talk about something that we've talked about so often? Yeah, I think the equation changed for the Raptors, if I'm being completely frank with you. The equation has changed for the Raptors now that a lot of these young players are really showing that they're ready. Like Jamal Shed may not be a backup point guard today, but he is definitively good enough to be a third string point guard. Jonathan Mobo is not a starter. Maybe he's not a key rotation player. He has shown me enough to be like a fringe rotation player that you put in, develop in the G League. So you are stocking the end of your bench that were all variables. So it's like if you look at a roster from 1 to 15, you've basically solved 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. You've solved all those. You're done. What you probably haven't solved is like 5, 6, 7, which I think you can solve with future assets and your current assets. I think that's my point. Maroon Prince saying Luka injured. I'll definitely go check that out. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Enjoy the night. And James Barron, thank you for the super chat. Gregory, again, thank you for the super chat. I'll catch you guys later. I will have you covered tomorrow. Charlotte Hornets, no Scottie Barnes. It's going to suck. But hopefully the Raptors pull out a W. And then, you know, hopefully we get a nice look at some of the young guys. And also Jacoby and Ulrich are down with the G League. I think Jameson Battle is down in the G League training camp as well. Man, like, am I alone? I don't really think Jameson Battle needs to be down in G League. That's just me. Talk to you later. Bye.